Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about what to do when you have a person on your team unexpectedly quit. So you just had someone on your team come to you and say, hey, I'm going to quit. Maybe they said this is my last day. Maybe they gave you 2 weeks notice. Maybe if they're a great employee and if you have great culture at your company, maybe they gave you even 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks notice, which that would just be unbelievable. Now, the first thing you want to look at is, can I get this person to stay? Can I convince this person to stay if I want them to stay? So maybe it's a blessing in disguise, and maybe you said, oh wow, I was wanting to fire that person anyway. They kind of felt that pressure. They said, all right, I'm going to quit, and you just weren't quite prepared for it, but it's a good thing, in which case, all right, great. Rip the Band-Aid off, or maybe see if you can get them to stay for 2 to 4 weeks longer while you're finding a replacement. It's totally fine. You transition to that new person. But if it's someone you want to keep, then what I want you to do is figure out how you can get them to stay. Now, there's a couple things that you're going to do here. Number one, you're going to ask and figure out, why are they leaving and what are the specifics? So hopefully on that first conversation, you ask some questions to kind of uncover this. If you didn't, go back to them and ask this question: why are you leaving? What are the specifics? And really dig 2, 3, 4, 5 layers deep. And don't be afraid to level with them and say, hey, is this the real reason? Is this actually why you're leaving? Because what you'll find is a lot of times the reason that they give you is not the actual reason on why they're leaving. So dig and probe a couple layers deep, and what you'll probably find is that it's something else. And then, and only then, can you address the root issue and the real problem. Now, sometimes the specifics of why they're leaving is because they got a great offer at another company. This has happened to me many times. They come to you, they say, hey, I just got a great offer. I'm going to take this position. Now, what you want to do here is find out the specifics of the offer. What exactly is the offer? What are all the details about the company, about the position, about the offer, about the salary, about the compensation, about the benefits, all those things? And also, can you beat it? So now is the time to really dig on that. And maybe, if they haven't already signed an offer letter, and a lot of times, even if they already have, it's not too late. They haven't started working there yet. They can go back on what they said to that person, and they can stay at your company. So I want to figure out, what was the offer and can I beat it? Now, this is the part of the process where, this is going to take some work on your part, but oftentimes you can come back, and if you really want to keep that person, you can talk them off the ledge. Now, sometimes it's just, hey, they got an amazing offer. There's no way I can beat this. This happened to me recently. Someone got poached from my company. They got offered a huge position with a huge salary, huge equity, all those things. And I just looked at them. I said, this is amazing. I can't beat that. You should take this. Like, I'm really bummed that you're leaving, and you're awesome, and I wish you were staying here, but this is great, and I want to look out for them. All these conversations, I'm looking out for your best interest in mind, and I'm going to help you come to that decision. That decision might be to stay here, it might be to leave, but at the end of the day, I'm going to walk you through some questions and help you understand this to make sure that you're making a good and informed decision. This is the way I approach all these conversations, and whether it's someone leaving the company or whether it's someone that I'm wanting to hire, it's always through that lens. And I'm just a firm believer that if you have honest, open, candid conversations and you look out for people's best interest in mind, they're going to reciprocate that. And so whether it's, hey, you should come to work at self-publishing school and here's why, I'm looking out for your best interest, or you should stay here and here's why, always look out for their best interest in mind, because maybe it means that they should leave, but you're protecting that relationship. And long-term relationships are always going to win, and we might work together on down the road, but just not right now. So be prepared to have that candid conversation, and you might be able to stop this video right here and stop this whole process, because that's when you can go back and keep them from quitting in the first place. Now, if you go through that whole process and it's a no matter what, hey, I am leaving, the next question you ask is, how can I mitigate the damage? So here's where, all right, you're definitely leaving, but can I stretch out? Can I get an extra week, an extra 2 weeks? Can I get an extra 4 weeks? Have you accepted the next job? I'm going to try to stretch this out as long as possible, and I might even tie a bonus on here. So I might say, hey, if you're willing to stay on for 6 weeks, and so maybe they've gotten the next position, they're starting within 2 weeks, I'll say, hey, all right, 2 weeks, you're going to start at this next role. If you'll switch to part-time for 4 weeks after that, and you'll help train up your replacement, and you'll systematize things like that, I'll give you a $1,000 bonus at the end of that if you train that person up. right? So you can get creative, you can do things like that to kind of stretch this out and bridge this, because bringing someone in and hiring someone, training someone, all those things unexpectedly, that is a huge time suck, and that can really suck the momentum out of your business. Now, I've got another video on how to retain employees. I highly recommend checking that video out, because chances are if you're here, you didn't do that well. So you want to do that to make sure you don't have to run into this problem in the future. But again, you're just trying to mitigate the damage and the disruption to your business. Once you've went through the process of figuring out how to mitigate the damage and get them to stay on as long as is possible, the next question that you want to ask is, do I truly need to rehire for this? Okay, because sometimes when people quit, it can be a blessing in disguise, and you realize that, oh man, we were a little bit bloated as a company. I can actually do a hybrid role. I can promote someone here. This will be a value hire. This person was making a bunch of money and they quit, but this person over here has basically all the capabilities. I can give them a half role here, promote someone up from under them or something like that. Or maybe you don't even need to hire for that position because you'd gotten bloated as an organization in general. So that's like, this is a chance to pause, stop, reflect. And I know this is like a very reactionary time of like, oh my gosh, someone quit, we need to get someone in here. And I was just talking through a friend of mine recently who was in this exact situation, and we talked through the process and we figured out, oh my gosh, I don't think you actually need to rehire for this. So the gut reaction and the instinct is that, oh, of course I need to rehire for this, but take a true look at it, go back through job scorecards, and then figure out if you need to rehire for this position. Now I want to end this video with 3 things that you can do to keep this from happening again. Now the first thing is to systematize every activity or role in your company. So you should have a playbook and you should have systems. I've got a great video on how to systematize your job or your business and how to create a playbook. Definitely check that out. If you have a great playbook, this is much less of a risk and it's going to be less of an impact to your business, less of a disruption if you have someone suddenly quit. So make sure you're systematizing the jobs and activities in your business. Number 2 is to cross-train. Now, wherever possible and whenever possible, I love cross-training people. So I'll cross-train SDRs to be sales reps to do SDR stuff. I'll cross-train for certain skill sets, for using certain software. Whenever possible, look at, do I have key man risk or concentration risk? Now, I realized this recently as I said, oh my gosh, I've got key man risk and I've also got concentration risk. There's 2 people in my business that drive 50, 60, 70% of the revenue. So I need to figure that out. So I got a little bit scared and I started to hire an intern to help with marketing. I hired some more sales reps. I did some cross training and we spread that load. So those people are still with me and I'm doing all the things on how to retain talent, but I've spread that out. So I'm not as vulnerable to one person leaving and the impact that that could have on my business. So cross train whenever and wherever possible. Number 3 is always be building a talent bench. Now a talent bench is, just like sports, you always have this bench of people who can hop in the game at any moment. So recruiting is a never-ending thing, especially if you're growing quickly. You should always have people on the talent bench. And so this is actually one of our playbooks internally at Self-Publishing School, is we're always building a talent bench. And I have my leadership team, so as you develop your leadership team, or maybe you already have one, they are now accountable for building their own talent bench. So whether it's a coach, whether it's a sales rep, whether it's in student success, any role at our company, we should have 1, 2, 3, or 4 people on the sidelines ready to come into the game that are on the talent bench. Or we should have cross-trained people internally where we could pull that person over into the role. So always be building your talent bench, always be recruiting, even when you don't think that you need to be hiring. I'm always looking out and say, hey, we should work together sometime. Or what kind of position would you be interested in? Always be building that talent bench, because the best time to find someone to work at your company is when you don't need them to work right away. And sometimes it takes time to build those relationships. So always be building a talent bench. Now, the last thing I'll recommend is to check out my video on how to retain top talent. I already mentioned this, but this is just very, very, very important. So check out that video. You don't want to be in this position again where you have someone unexpectedly quit. So check out the video on how to retain top talent. There you have it. Hopefully this has helped. You had an employee unexpectedly quit or come to you and say that they're going to quit. Hopefully this helped mitigate the situation. Maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to convince them to stay. If not, you'll be able to mitigate the damage by getting them to stay for longer. And then you'll be able to ask the question, do I need to rehire for this position? And then I gave you 3 steps to keep this from happening again in the future. I'd love for you to comment below. What was your biggest takeaway from this video? your biggest takeaway from this video, comment below, scroll below this video right now. Seriously, comment, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.